I read the first 120 pages of Oathbringer. These are my predictions on what I think is going to happen next and overall chit chat on what has already happened. Let's jump into it. So we join Dalinar and we see a golden light, a figure in black shard plate, and then we also see 9 shadows in different directions, red eyes that Dalinar says look familiar. So I believe the Unmade are the 9 shadows. I don't know exactly what they are, even though it's briefly described, but why, oh why, oh why would Dalinar say that the red eyes look familiar? So the obvious answer would be he saw the red eyes of the Parshendi during the Everstorm last time out at the end of Words of Radiance. So maybe he's talking about that. But what would be much more exciting and what I'm leaning towards is the idea that actually he just knows who the champion is. And although I don't have any evidence, anything to go off of, there are obviously some people who, if they were that champion, it would mean so much for the story. So if we were to go pure speculation, the craziest and pretty much impossible answer would be that it's Gavilar somehow, but it's not. Also, maybe it's Dalinar himself, but I don't think so. Or Kaladin, or someone along those lines, maybe his son, Adolin. But I'm not wholly convinced that it would be any of those, so I'm not sure why he said the eyes look familiar, because he's met so many important characters, and I believe he's met a lot of the heralds previously as well, although I don't believe that Odiums Champion could be a herald. So, I don't know who it is, but I think if it's any of those people I named, it would be a fantastic twist. Then we get a flashback, or multiple flashbacks, during the 120 pages that I've read so far. And those 120 pages, for those who always ask, brings me to the start of chapter 12, called Negotiations. We are following Dalinar in this book, and we're going through his history, which is awesome. I love Dalinar. I think he's one of the best characters that we have, if not the best with regards to the character that he is now. But what becomes abundantly clear is that he has changed so much from the person he was 34 years ago. Seems like we're going to be following Gavilar's rise, Dalinar's part in it, Sadeas' part in it, and essentially the unification of the Alethi kingdom. This is great, and there's a few different ways we could go in this, and I predict some things that we're going to see. The first thing, and the biggest thing that I think we're going to address, is we're going to address Dalinar's visit to the Night Watcher. We're going to address the reason why he can't remember his wife and all the things that led up to that and what it will mean moving forwards. And potentially we will get a moment where actually he can remember his wife and the Night Watcher's boon or curse is lifted. And the reason I say boon or curse is, looking back at Dalinar now, the perspective I have so far, he wasn't a very nice person, and that's putting it lightly. He was bloodthirsty, brute-headed, immoral. We've already got a scene of him murdering a child for a shard blade, which is despicable, of course. And I think that maybe he did something so heinous that he lost his wife. Maybe he even killed his own wife, or he did just something so ridiculously cruel and immoral that he wanted to forget it. And maybe the inability to remember his wife's name is actually the boon from the Night Watcher. And that would be rather than the curse. Now, I know obviously that's a wild guess. Other things could have happened as well. Maybe his wife is still alive somehow and he swore he would find a way to not remember her, but that seems less likely. I think my first prediction is most likely based on the person that we've met so far. And we know that Dalinar is very different today, and I think a lot of that is down to his brother's death and how he feels about that. But what I'm most excited about is we're going to see a lot more of Gavilar, this person who not only united the Alethi kingdom, but had people like Sadeas and Dalinar under wraps, leashed, so to speak. And then in the future, if my predictions are correct, he is consorting with heralds. He's making big plans with regards to the Parshendi, and just like he's just got so much. He's such an interesting guy, and I'm excited to see more of him through Dalinars' perspective. But we'll also be interested to see how far through Dalinars' story we get, and before we start seeing some serious changes. He maybe changes when he meets his wife, or maybe there's a loss in a battle that happens and he decides he needs to change, or maybe just Gavilar's influence, him wanting to become more political like a politician, which is a speech he gave Dalinar at the end of this flashback that I just had. Maybe that influences Dalinar to go in that direction as well. So then we hop to Kaladin. Kaladin has visited his mom and dad, which was super emotional. Really enjoyed that. We also get him hitting the city lord, is it called? Roshan, right in the face. And although it's a childish move, I just feel like from the first book and what we learn about him in the second book, it's just so deserved. And I really enjoyed that. And now we're going to see how he's going to progress moving forwards. I like that his storyline is separated from our other main characters, because everybody was in one place in the last book for the majority. And what that meant was we got a lot of politics, which is great. I'm a big fan of politics and maneuvering inside of one area in a book. But I do think it's time to broaden the world. And although although Brandon Sanderson, thinking of the Wheel of Time, Brandon Sanderson does a fantastic job of broadening the world with the prologues and different perspectives and snippets and head notes and things like that. Interludes, he calls them. I think it's definitely time for our characters to do a bit of splitting up and find out a bit more about the world. Why is Kaladin seeing his parents so emotional? Well, he has another brother, a younger brother, and I cannot see Kaladin lose another brother. That is not something that I can read, so I need that kid to be okay for the duration. And we also see a very emotional scene where his father, when Kaladin reveals that he is a Knights Radiant and his Silblade, his father looks down, and I don't know if it's because his father knows something that we don't. I don't think so. I think more likely he just kind of knows that his dream of his son being a surgeon and being someone who puts people back together is kind of gone for now. However, I do think we're going to get some good scenes of Kaladin coming back to being his surgeon ways in the future, but I don't think it's anytime soon. I think that's going to be more like endgame Kaladin realizing that that truly is his way, you know, his calling, they call it. So we know that the Parshendi are not attacking everybody. They're taking food and they're heading in a certain direction. What does this mean? I'm not sure. I don't have any great predictions on what the Parshendi are doing. If I had to take a guess, I mean, I'm pretty certain they're not the Voidbringers. I think that's been made quite clear that they're not the actual Voidbringers of myth and legend. So I think they probably need to struggle and grapple with what's going on, but I just don't know how much clear thought they have. I'll be very interested to see if Eshonai survived. If she did survive, then I think that she would be the correct person to try and break them out of this storm form and maybe connect them with a positive spren. So that's what I would like to see happen. What's going to happen in the short term is I do think there needs to be more battle between the Parshendi in this it's not a storm form and you know, our characters, and it seems pretty clear that we're going to be heading back to, is it Kolinar, the homeland of the Alefi, and the homeland and royal seat, as it were, right now of the Alefi land of where Dalinar and Gavilar are from, and maybe we'll discover some secrets there. We already know there's upheaval from one of the interludes previously, so I think that that is where we're going with this book, and mostly that is prophesized from Dalinar's vision at the start of this book given to him by the Stormfather. I think the Stormfather is going to give us so many secrets. I'm so excited to learn more about him and his interaction with Dalinar as well. So overall, not a lot I feel was given away here. A lot was given away in the prologue backwards, and I made a video on that, so you can go back and see that. I reread all the prologues, including this one, and I made some assumptions and drew some lines. But overall, I think really this is just a good setup for what we're going to see, and I think Dalinar's going to have to make some kind of choice at the end, and it's going to show just how far he's come and who he is and how much of a changed man he is, and I'm hoping we're going to get some clarification on the situation with his wife. One bonus thing that I predict though is Renarin seems to be able to heal, and he seems to be able to heal better than others, unless I've mistaken it. And I was thinking, what is the craziest thing that he would be able to heal? Two things I thought of. Number one, would he be able to heal a Parshendi from bonding with, you know, like a Spren of Odium or Void Spren or whatever that is? Don't think so. So I don't think that's like an inherently bad thing. I think that's just the Spren is inherently bad and it linked up with the Parshendi. So it's not like you wouldn't be healing them. It's just like an unfortunate matchup for the Parshendi. But what would be crazy is if Renarin could heal the curse / boon that the Night Watcher gave Dalinar, and that's what allows him to remember who Renarin's mother is, I suppose, as well. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah, so that's a bold prediction right there. So what do I hope happens? I hope that Kaladin stays away from the rest and we get a different storyline for him. I would like that Shalorn and Patton to do the same thing as well. Dalinar to find out about his wife. I'd love way more Taravangian and more from him. And just as much of Dalinars Past as we can possibly get. And I think I'm in for it based on what we've seen so far. Before we go, I want to give a massive shout out to my members. We have 2 tiers of membership. One is the library card, and you get to see these videos early, and other members only videos that I post sporadically every now and again. And then we also have the bookworms. They support the channel as well, and I'm massively grateful. Their names are on screen. Now, other than that, I will see you next Sunday, 10 AM. Thank you for your time.